studios of the Metro News Radio Network in Morgantown, this is West Virginia's premier sports talk show.
From Weirton to Welch, Martinsburg to Matewan, and all points in between, this is the Northside Automotive Statewide Sportsline.
Tonight's show is brought to you by Northside Automotive, Route 19 in Summersville. We'll beat the advertised price of any other dealer in the state, guaranteed. And now, sitting in for Tony Caridi, here's Brad Howe.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome in across the state of West Virginia and beyond to the Northside Automotive Statewide Sportsline for Friday, November 20th, 2015. Brad Howe along with you. I'm joined in studio as usual by the coach, Greg Hunter. Good evening, Coach Hunter.
Good evening.
Continuing on, we just finished up hosting Hotline for the last 3 hours, so Greg and I stay in the chair. We're with you for another hour until 7 o'clock, talking Mountaineer football, Mountaineer basketball. We've got all kinds of good stuff for you. Jam-packed show again. Here's what we're going to talk about. Just a few weeks left in the college football season. Our guy Todd Furman, the lead gambling analyst at Sportsline.com, will be back with us to handicap the big games. And a big college football game being played tomorrow in Charleston. University of Charleston is one of two Mountain East Conference teams in the D2 playoffs, and they take on IUP tomorrow at noon. Their head coach, Pat Kirkland, will join us in a little bit to talk about that game that will be broadcast on the Metro News channel on our website, wvmetronews.com, tomorrow, again, coming up at noon. So we'll talk to Pat here in just a little bit about his Charleston team that goes at it in the playoffs starting tomorrow. And the high school football playoffs continue with the quarterfinal round getting underway this evening. We'll hear from the voice of high school sports in West Virginia, Fred Persinger, with a preview of the games tonight and tomorrow. But before we get to all of that, let's go live to Lawrence, Kansas, where we're joined by our own Alan Taylor with a preview of tomorrow's West Virginia-Kansas football game. Alan, good evening.
Hey, buddies. How you doing?
We're good. How are things in the great state of Kansas?
Actually, colder than when we got on a plane in Morgantown today. I think the wind chill is gonna be sub-freezing most of the game tomorrow, with winds 15 to 20 miles per hour. Probably not quite as gusty as it was 2 years ago on that fateful day when the wind blew so hard that the goalpost came down. But still going to be chilly and breezy tomorrow, so the running game might be relied on yet again.
All right, set this game up for us. Hunter cringes. He's been cringing at me all afternoon when I keep saying it's done. West Virginia does not lose this. You referenced 2013. I certainly remember that, but this is a better West Virginia team that went into Lawrence last time. Give me kind of the lay of the land of what you see in tomorrow's game.
Well, you can't, not reference 2013, at least until you put some dirt on that about actually winning in Lawrence. But both of those teams were a little bit closer to one another then. Kansas wasn't good, obviously, but they at least had a legitimate Division I roster. Right now, because of scholarship issues with a lot of attrition, they're not even a good, I don't think, FCS level team right now. And West Virginia obviously is a little bit better than they were that year. So it shouldn't happen again. But I know why Coach Hunter is cringing, because it can happen. But I think Kansas has already had a couple of sort of near misses where they had Texas Tech on the ropes here, and then really caught TCU just in a deflated week last Saturday in Fort Worth without their quarterback. So I think those were maybe two sort of wake-up calls for West Virginia, and I don't think Kansas is going to get a win this year, and I think either of those might have been their only chance.
Alan, one potential problem for West Virginia is an issue that you've quietly alluded to earlier in the week, and we'll throw it out there now, is Skylar Howard's health. You think there's an issue there with his hand?
You just don't know, because it was clearly hurt after the game last Saturday. He had it wrapped, and it looked a little swollen. For those who don't know, he fell on it, landed on it in the end zone after that 2-yard power run late in the game, so it shouldn't have been an issue in that game. But he was favoring it coming off the field, had it tightly wrapped up. And then again on Tuesday when we met with him, it never came out of some sort of sleeve. And I don't know whether it was like a compression thing that was pumping air or whether it was just something that was keeping ice and keeping it wrapped. He initially shrugged it off, said it's fine, and then he said it's getting treatment, and then he said it's okay because I can still grip a football, which, if you're getting to the point where you're saying, hey, I can squeeze a football, then I think at least the injury is a thing. Now, whether he came on late in the week and was able to throw with his normal velocity and had the normal feel and touch on the ball, that's something to be determined. But regardless of whether they go exclusively on the ground or not, him holding the football in their right hand, it's an issue if indeed that swelling hasn't gone down, and if it's a really big contusion or whatever, that could still come into play tomorrow. So we'll know, I would guess, as early as pregame warm-ups, just seeing what kind of velocity he puts on the ball and whether he's favoring that or whether he's playing in a glove or a wrap or something, because he didn't even say when asked about potential playing in something, and again, I'm not even sure there's something you can put on a hand that helps in that situation. He did at least address the fact that he didn't think he would need that.
That's certainly something to keep an eye on as we move forward, but if your quarterback's going to have a dinged-up hand, and this is certainly a team that you want to face, the only team worse than them, than Kansas I'm referring to, at stopping the run was that Texas Tech team that we saw West Virginia just run all the way through. So as this offense has morphed more into run, not only run first, almost run exclusively, only throwing it 12 times last week, this is the opponent you want to see if your quarterback's got a dinged-up hand.
Yeah, that's right. And to be honest, personnel-wise, it does look like Texas Tech statistically is worse against the run than Kansas. But Texas Tech is also stressing its defense by playing an extra 30 plays a game. I think actually personnel, this is by far the worst defense in the Big 12, probably in Division I, and maybe in Division I in a long time, just because of attrition and youth. There's true freshmen all over both sides of the ball for Kansas, and occasionally get a special kid who can get on the field, but I don't think they really have those kind of freshmen. They have guys who are playing because they have to, not because they're just exceptional ahead of the curve athletes.
West Virginia's defense is played better. Obviously, Texas power run game caused West Virginia some problems, but Kansas probably can't do that. What do you think of the defense that West Virginia's put on the field the last couple of games?
I think they were really proud of what happened against Texas Tech, held the Red Raiders way below their average points and yardage. I think they were really troubled about what happened against Texas because they just sort of got out-physicaled at times. The linebackers were having trouble getting off blocks, were having trouble seeing things as they developed, and you get the sense talking to Gibby that thank goodness for those turnovers. I think his quote was, "I don't know what the score would have been if we don't get those," because those really bailed out West Virginia. And when I say bail out, yes, West Virginia created 3 of those, so that's one part. But Texas also gave up a couple that was sort of unforced. Again, Kansas doesn't have the personnel that even Texas has, even from a youth standpoint. So this should be one of those bounce-back games where the defense controls people and where you get to play some backups. I think it's almost to the point of this game where, yes, West Virginia and Holgorsen would take a 20-17 win if they had to, but Texas Tech won by 10 points in Lawrence, and you would have thought they lost the game listening to Kingsbury and their guys walking out here. So I really think this is one of those where the backups need to see some time, and you need to be in control of this one for it to be, even remotely satisfying.
Yeah, absolutely right. All right, we'll let you run. You know you got a bunch of film to watch tonight before the game. You've got your live blog. What time's your live blog kick off on the website tomorrow?
We should be getting that one rolling about the same time that you guys start eating in the studio there.
Well, that's early. I'm going to start eating about 7 a.m. when I get here. So.
Well, then not that early. Then maybe around 9.
All right. Your live blog at the website, wvmetronews.com, kicks off around 9. Of course, Alan will be part of our 9 hours of game day coverage coming up tomorrow. Enjoy, Lawrence, and we'll check in with you in the morning.
All right, buddy. Hard to believe we're already in Game 11, right?
Simply amazing. It really is. Cliche, but absolutely amazing.
All right, buddy. Thanks, man.
Take care. We'll talk to you tomorrow. There he is, Alan Taylor. Again, keep up with him on the website, wvmetronews.com. Are you among the thousands of West Virginia's hunters who have already gotten a permanent Division of Natural Resources ID number? Don't forget, you'll need that ID number to check in that big deer or other game. After the hunt, checking game is as easy as calling 844-WV-CHECK, going online, or stopping by a licensed agent. If you still need an ID number, visit wvhunt.com today. Time to get our first break in. When we come back, the former odds maker at Caesars Palace, Sportsline.com's Todd Furman, joins us. We're back after this on the Northside Automotive Statewide Sportsline.
Have you ever wondered just who are the Friends of Coal? Well, there are 50,000 West Virginia families who support the state's coal industry, and they look a lot like you. Honest, hardworking, good neighbors who want a future for themselves and their state. They're coal miners, housewives, school teachers, mechanics, doctors, college professors, pizza delivery guys, your friends. The Friends of Coal know and understand the importance of the coal industry to our state's economy. They know about the 60,000 jobs the coal industry creates in our state. They know about the $25 billion the industry pumps into our economy. And they know that without coal, our state would face an economic catastrophe. Come to think of it, that sounds like most West Virginians. Let Congress know you are a proud West Virginian, and you are a friend of coal.
Coal is West Virginia.
Hi, it's Tony Caridi with a question. What can a video do for you? Well, if you're in business or part of an organization, let me tell you what videos have done for our clients at Pikewood Creative. Our commercials have generated millions of dollars in new business. Our long-form videos have helped capital campaigns raise tens of millions of dollars. That's what a video can do for you. If you have a need, then visit us at pikewoodcreative.com. That's Pikewood Creative.
You know who taught me to use a hands-free device while driving? My mom. She scared me to death all through school with that phone up to her ear, driving us back and forth. Now that I'm on the road solo, I tell my mom, I'm worried about you. Go hands-free with the phone when you're driving. I do. It's important to set a good example for parents, so when she rides with me, I turn it off, put it down, and just drive.
The West Virginia Department of Transportation, saving one life at a time.
The Northside Automotive statewide Sportsline returns in 2 minutes. On Metro News. For 30 years, the voice of West Virginia.
When something is missing from the picture, it doesn't make sense. Without the right people, your work site is just a site. Your office is just a space. Let's Train West Virginia has grant funding for on-the-job training in today's in-demand careers. Workers learn while they earn, and companies can be reimbursed up to $10,000 per eligible new hire. So qualified employees and satisfied employers complete the picture. Learn more at letstrainwv.com.
There. Just 5 more minutes. Almost home.
Statistics show that 80% of auto fatalities occur close to home on rural roads.
Gosh, cops.
That's why law enforcement is stepping up rural patrols and cracking down on impaired driving. If you are over the limit, you are under arrest because drinking and driving don't mix. Remember, over the limit, under arrest. This message brought to you by the Governor's Highway Safety Program.
This fall, not all blockbusters are movies. The Jeep Black Friday Blockbuster Sales Event. It's the must-see event of the year. Well-qualified current lessees of competitive vehicles get a low-mileage lease on the 2015 Grand Cherokee Laredo for $279 a month.
Welcome back inside Northside Automotive statewide Sportsline Friday, November 20th edition. Brad Howe in with you alongside the coach, Greg Hunter. A bunch of big games going on around college football this weekend. We're heading into crunch time, Coach Hunter. The games are coming. The playoffs are coming. Let's go to our good friend, Todd Furman, sportsline.com. Get his picks for the weekend. Todd, welcome to the program.
What's going on, gentlemen?
You good? Everything good in your world?
Yeah, business as usual, trying to grind out the college football and NFL season, college basketball basically in full swing at this point, and the NBA and NHL just still kind of afterthoughts as they ramp up.
So you're crazy. All right, we're gonna focus on college football here, and we'll mix in an NFL game here at the end. But let's start the big one in the Big Ten: Michigan State at Ohio State.
Yeah, when you look at this game, I think a lot of people fall in love with that nice little number by Michigan State, calling them a top 10 football team. But anybody who's watched the Spartans in a week-in, week-out basis realizes they are just a fraction of what they were last year, not only on the defensive side, but very limited offensively. Connor Cook didn't put together a great performance against Maryland. Michigan State outgained in that spot and, shockingly enough, still found a way to cover and win the game by 17 points. Ohio State, yes, they haven't played a national championship caliber schedule, but defensively, they've actually been underrated. You look at the offensive side of the ball, Ezekiel Elliott and J.T. Barrett starting to build that chemistry we saw, for much of last season, and I think this is where Ohio State puts it all together. Look to lay the points. This one gets ugly by halftime.
Todd, the last game ever for Frank Beamer at home in Blacksburg, and the Hokies are given a few points, 4.5 to North Carolina. North Carolina's been playing very good football, but does emotion not carry the Hokies deep into this one?
The emotion will carry them until the game kicks off, and that's where Virginia Tech's defense will take over, Coach. You look at the Hokies, and while they haven't quite lived up to those preseason expectations of being a top 5 national caliber defense, the reality of it is this team has actually performed pretty high by ACC standards, and I think North Carolina, the beneficiary of playing a schedule of teams not really capable of challenging their offense. When you look at this number, it did climb as high as North Carolina, a 6.5-point favorite. Price has come down, sitting at 4.5. I think it continues to drop, and for good reason. Virginia Tech gives Frank Beamer the proper send-off. They win this game outright against UNC.
One of the big ones in the Big 12, Baylor at Oklahoma State. Last I saw, correct me if I'm wrong, this was a pick'em. Is it still?
You've had a little bit of money coming on Baylor. I think the Bears will end up closing as a short road favorite in this spot. Interesting to note, this game would have been Baylor -4, 4.5 had it been played last weekend until the Bears struggled against Oklahoma, and Oklahoma State just squeaks by Iowa State. The thing to watch here will be Baylor's ability to run the football. We know Oklahoma State, struggled at that particular component of their defensive alignment last week against Iowa State, but for whatever reason, the Cyclones elected to go to more of a pass-centric offense in the second half and didn't quite work out so well for them. I think Baylor's players have said the right things. They're not going to let the Oklahoma loss spoil everything they've accomplished this season, and really believe if things break the right way, Baylor can still be Big 12 champions. For that to happen, they need to cover and beat Oklahoma State this weekend, something I think they can do in Stillwater.
Sportsline.com's Todd Furman is our guest.
Todd, technically a home game for Notre Dame, but it's going to be played at Fenway Park in Boston. BC and the Irish. BC has one of the worst offenses in Division I, maybe the worst. Can they give Notre Dame any kind of game?
It's definitely not pretty when you talk about this Boston College offense. Thankfully for Coach Adazio's troops, defensively they're the number 1 unit in the country. Now, can they hold Notre Dame at bay for a full 60 minutes? That remains to be seen. But Notre Dame hasn't exactly fared real well in these quote-unquote neutral site games. I know the designation is a home team, but still unfamiliar surroundings at Fenway Park. Total in this one sits at 42.5. Notre Dame, you've seen money come in on Boston College from 17 down to 15.5. Slight lean towards BC, but my thought is if BC's going to be the right side and have an ability to cover, it's got to be a low-scoring game. I'd be more inclined to go under 42.5 for the rested Eagles team.
All right, the game we're keeping an eye on most closely here in West Virginia. West Virginia at Kansas, and this is an interesting one, Todd, from a line perspective. Again, last I saw in that 28 range. Is this a game where you think West Virginia wins, but Kansas can keep it under that number?
We saw Kansas put their best foot forward a week ago against TCU, but I think that was as much the Horned Frogs just kind of going through the motions after the heartbreaking loss the week before against Oklahoma State. West Virginia has become a much more run-centric offense lately, so it's a little bit tougher to lay north of 4 touchdowns. This price has ticked off to 28, though 27.5. Not a huge change in the handicap, but as a result, you've seen the total come down as well, 64 at the peak down to 57. I don't think Kansas scores more than 14 points in this game. The question is, can the Mountaineers score more than 42? I would lean towards West Virginia laying the lumber on the road, but you're not going to catch me laying 4 touchdowns on the Conference Highway all that often deep into November.
Our guest is Todd Furman, Sportsline.com.
Todd, last game from me, NFL Sunday night game that features two teams with Super Bowl aspirations, two of the better teams in the NFL right now, with the Bengals going to Arizona to face the Cardinals. Cardinals 4.5-point favorites, so the home field basically the difference between these two.
Yeah, you've seen this number have an interesting stance when you look at odds makers opening the price with Arizona a 3.5-point chalk. Number got as high as 5.5 before there was some resistance. Of course, these two teams coming in with very different performances last weekend. The general public saw Arizona go up to the Pacific Northwest and dominate the Seahawks in a game where I don't think the final score was indicative of how lopsided that football game really was. Cincinnati, on the other hand, struggles on Monday night to put the ball in the end zone against the Texans. But it wasn't a fault of Andy Dalton or the defensive effort. It looked like a team that was flat and maybe playing with a little bit of pressure. I think with that weight of the world and the undefeated record off their shoulders, this is a spot where Cincinnati is going to play its best game. Will it be good enough to beat Arizona? I'm not sure of that, but I think it could come down to a late field goal. Would side with the Bengals here, catching 4.5 or 5 in some spots.
All right, we're not going to fire any more games at you, but this is one of my favorite things we do with you. I'm going to ask you for one college and one pro game, the best play you like that we haven't talked about.
That we haven't talked about. Well, I say college, the best bet, in my opinion, is actually Ohio State.
Okay.
So I'll throw that out there for a game we haven't talked about, and I know Mountaineer fans will be happy to hear this. I think Louisville goes into Heinz Field and beats Pittsburgh. Really expect Louisville to close as a short road favorite in this spot, a team playing better offensively than Pitt, and I think they have the better defense. Was surprised to see the Panthers as a favorite. And then as we look towards primetime on Monday night, I think New England is going to struggle without the services of Julian Edelman and Dion Lewis, two of the key contributors. The first time these two teams met, those guys combined for nearly 250 yards of total offense and 3 touchdowns. Buffalo, extra time to prepare, and Rex Ryan, for the first time, admitting that New England has the division race wrapped up, leads me to believe he's got a few tricks up his sleeve. I think Buffalo has a chance to go into Gillette, not only cover, but maybe win the game outright if things break the right way.
All right, excellent stuff. As always, we enjoy our Friday evening talks. Go study up, enjoy the games tomorrow and Sunday, and we'll catch up here again soon.
Always a pleasure, guys. Enjoy the games this weekend.
Thanks, Todd. There he is, Todd Furman, Sportsline.com, and the former odds maker at Caesars Palace. Hunter, once again, I'm always come amazed with how much he is all over this.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
Incredible, the numbers that he has.
Yeah, so we'll keep an eye. So he thinks West Virginia wins, isn't worried about that, but that Kansas stays inside the number there, which is a theme we see coming up. And he likes Ohio State. He feels that's the best bet. That's interesting.
Yeah. Very much so.
Ohio State has a tough road coming up. They have not played anybody yet.
Not a ranked team to this point. Yep.
Michigan State, then Michigan, then the Big Ten championship game with, if all things stay, it would be an undefeated Iowa team, which I'm kind of hoping to see that. That's 3 tough games for them,
Yeah.
although I think they handle Iowa certainly if it gets to that point, but I'd like to see that matchup.
Yeah, all 3 of these. I mean, if they, again, sort of like last year for them when they had a tough closing stretch, if they get through this unscathed, they deserve to be in there. But if they stumble, they very well could be out of the Final Four, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
With their schedule, a 1-loss Ohio State, even a defending national champion.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, and I know everybody always tries to preach that the time of year of the losses don't matter, but they simply do.
Sure.
And you saw it work in Ohio State's favor last year. They lose that game, bad loss at home to a mediocre Virginia Tech team, but it was early. And by the time it got to playoff time, they were ramping up and winning games, much like Oklahoma has done this year. So that's certainly a game to keep an eye on. And then just from a nostalgia standpoint, that'll be interesting to watch Carolina at Virginia Tech tomorrow in Beamer's final game at home.
Absolutely. And again, West Virginia may see this in a couple weeks. We talk about Bill Snyder, potentially his final game against Kansas State in Manhattan. So I just think emotion in those type of games is so big. It's very hard to overlook it. Now, I think North Carolina is pretty good this year, and I think they're essentially much, much better than Virginia Tech on the field, but I wouldn't be surprised if that emotion doesn't change the outcome of this game.
Yeah, certainly something to keep an eye on. So, again, getting down to crunch time here, just a few weeks left, a bunch of good games that we'll be watching, and we'll be paying attention to all of those tomorrow as part of our 9 hours of coverage beginning at 9 a.m. Stay with us. A break to take. When we come back, the University of Charleston's head football coach, Pat Kirkland, will join us. Stay with us.
All Medicare-eligible individuals. It's time for open enrollment. Take advantage of the health plan's Medicare plans with benefits such as Silver Sneakers gym membership, an extensive list of doctors and hospitals. Contact us 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. 7 days a week at 1-877-847-7915 or visit healthplan.org/Medicare. This information is not a complete description of benefits. Contact the plan for more information. Limitations, copayments, and restrictions may apply. Benefits and/or copayments coinsurance may change on January 1 of each year.
This Saturday, the West Virginia Mountaineers return home for a Big 12 matchup with the Iowa State Cyclones. Join Metro News for the best, most listened to game day coverage. The pregame fun starts at 9 a.m. with the Jeep Gold and Blue Countdown, followed by the Sports Brunch. Game line kicks off at high noon. Then postgame analysis begins at 3 with the Gold and Blue Wrap-Up, brought to you by the West Virginia Oil and Natural Gas Association. Don't miss game day coverage at its best, beginning Saturday morning at 9, right here on Metro News. The Northside Automotive statewide Sportsline returns in 2 minutes. On Metro News. For 30 years, the voice of West Virginia.
Almost there. Just 5 more minutes. Almost home.
Statistics show that 80% of auto fatalities occur close to home on rural roads.
Cops.
That's why law enforcement is stepping up rural patrols and cracking down on impaired driving. If you are over the limit, you are under arrest because drinking and driving don't mix. Remember, over the limit, under arrest. This message brought to you by the Governor's Highway Safety Program.
This fall, not all blockbusters are movies. The Jeep Black Friday Blockbuster Sales Event. It's the must-see event of the year. Well-qualified current lessees of competitive vehicles get a low-mileage lease on the 2015 Grand Cherokee Laredo for $279 a month.
When something is missing from the picture, it doesn't make sense. Without the right people, your work site is just a site. Your office is just a space. Let's Train West Virginia has grant funding for on-the-job training in today's in-demand careers. Workers learn while they earn, and companies can be reimbursed up to $10,000 per eligible new hire. So qualified employees and satisfied employers complete the picture. Learn more at letstrainwv.com.
Friday edition, Northside Automotive, statewide Sportsline, Brad Howe, Greg Hunter, along with you. Mountain East Conference has 2 teams in the Division II playoffs for the first time ever. One of those teams begins play tomorrow. University of Charleston will host IUP at noon at the University of Charleston Stadium. We will also be broadcasting that game on the Metro News channel of WVMetronews.com. Joining us now to preview that game is the head coach of the University of Charleston, Pat Kirkland. Pat, welcome to the program.
I appreciate it. How are you doing?
We're doing great, buddy. And first off, congratulations, not only from a Mountain East Conference perspective, doing something historic with 2 teams in, but you at the University of Charleston, the first playoff bid for your school. So congratulations.
I appreciate it. You know, it's been a long time coming. These guys have worked hard, and I'm excited that they have the opportunity for some, postseason.
Well, you guys are on fire. You've won 9 in a row. Your only loss coming to Shepherd in a close game a while back. Give us an overview of your team. I think most of us listening have heard of your quarterback, Jeremy Johnson, not only from his time here at WVU, but he just had a fantastic season and put up some big numbers. But give us an overview of what to watch for tomorrow with your guys.
I think what you're going to see is, we've got a team. We're athletic. We're fast on offense, and obviously that's highlighted by, Jeremy Johnson, who's playing just, really tremendous ball right now, making plays with his feet and, through the air, and we're pretty much a balanced attack on offense. A big part of that is our offensive line. We had 3 first-team all-conference players there, and they've done a tremendous job. And I think where we've seen the improvement most throughout the year is we're a young defense. We replaced 8 starters from a very good defense a year ago. 7 of them were really up front. And those guys, we're young. I think we're athletic. And that's where I think we've seen the biggest improvement, and it's allowed us to have the success that we're having now.
Pat, at the end of the day, it's just a football game, but does it feel like something different? Does it feel like a playoff game? And do you worry about nerves from your kids, even though you're playing your 12th game of the season?
We talked about that throughout the week and really addressed it, at our walkthrough today again. I told the guys, I said, one, you got to stop and appreciate this because this doesn't happen all the time. And you've worked hard to get to this point, so we're going to enjoy it. We'll have some fun with it, but we also are going to take advantage of the opportunity. And I think that, nervous, it's natural. And I think they're a little more excited about the opportunity to have a playoff game, to host a playoff game than anything. And I hope that's the way they play tomorrow.
We're talking with Pat Kirkland, head coach, University of Charleston, whose team takes on IUP tomorrow in the NCAA Division II playoffs at noon. And Pat, I think most Mountaineer fans listening know your background and your relationship here at WVU. You spent time on staff your last 2 years as the director of recruiting. Give us a sense, though, once you left West Virginia and you moved on in your coaching career, when you arrived at Charleston, from where you were the day you took the job there to where the team is now, what's the biggest surprise or the biggest leap of improvement that you all have made from a program perspective?
I think just the depth in our program with our players. I think before I got here, they had some success, with their teams, and I think what we were able to do is really just go out those first 2 years and recruit and get some depth, get some young players, from the high school ranks that we thought could come in and really help us win football games at a high level consistently. And that's a big deal right now. Week 12, who's healthy? It's everybody's banged up at every division, and it's trying to get that depth so we can kind of insert that next guy in. I think now we're at a point where it's not as much as, hey, keeping our fingers crossed and hoping to win, where, we've got higher expectations and we're competing for conference championships and NCAA playoff berth.
Pat, we were talking about this earlier in the afternoon, but certainly the Pennsylvania Athletic Conference has been the measuring stick in this region for a long, long time. But, the Mountain East now has, I don't want to say it surpassed that, but you guys have caught, at least made a lot of ground on it. Are you guys ready to catch up to that, or is it too early to say that after 1 year with two teams in the playoffs?
I think it's early. The one thing I'll say about the Mountain East Conference is it's tremendous football. It's got some great players, great coaches. I was in the old West Virginia Conference back at Glenville State from 2000 to 2005, and to see where this conference has really grown football-wise is tremendous. And I think what you've seen is the last 2 years, we've had Concord in the playoffs. They've gone up there and beat, two very good PSAC schools the last 2 years. Shepherd's done the same thing. So, it's very comparable. You've seen recruiting now. We're after the same kids. And I think we're at the point now where, we're getting a lot more credit for the quality of football in the Mountain East.
I think you just said it right there, too, Pat, naming off those teams with Concord. We know Shepherd. We see your success this year. Glenville had a pretty good year for most of the season. So the conference certainly is deep, and that's what gets you recognized as such a great conference. When you look at your head coaching style, you've been around a bunch of coaches. Do you take from anybody? Are you completely your own guy? Who have you kind of emulated in your profession?
Oh, boy, it's in coaches. Yes, any coach. We're the biggest thieves out there. So I take, whatever I get and try to incorporate it into my philosophy and day-to-day routine. But I think, like you said, when I was at West Virginia University, I was so blessed to be around so many good personalities and coaching styles. When it started with Rich Rodriguez there, I learned a great deal just on day-to-day management, on how to handle a staff and how to organize throughout the day. And then, a lot of those assistant coaches with Bill Stewart that I was with, and some of those guys are still up in Morgantown. Jeff Castile and Bill Kurlowich were guys that just really impressive personalities. And I thought the thing I took away from Morgantown is all those coaches, including Coach Holgerson, I think really how to deal with players and really have them buy into your program and be more of a player's coach where they trust and respect you. And that's something I try to do on a daily basis, and I think we do have a good relationship with our coaches and our players here.
Certainly, you and your players are excited for this game. What about the UC campus in the city of Charleston? I would imagine there are a lot of people that are going to want to show up at Lately Field tomorrow.
Yeah, it's been good. One, I'm excited because I think we've had some tremendous environments at our home games, and we're undefeated at home, 6-0 this year. We had 3 Thursday night games that were just great environments. I was excited, but I think now we're at the point where, everything kind of steps up a little bit. I'm hoping tomorrow at noon to have a great crowd, a tremendous environment. The weather's going to be great. It's just been very exciting to see that the interest in the city of Charleston and around the university, not just the football program, but all of our athletic programs are doing pretty well this fall. I believe our women's soccer just lost in the NCAA tournament. Our men's soccer team is still in it. So it's an exciting time at Charleston right now.
Great stuff, Pat. We appreciate you taking some time. I know you're super busy getting ready for the game. Best of luck tomorrow. Go out and get a win. We'll bring you back, and we'll talk to you again next week.
Brad, Gray, I appreciate you guys. You take care. Thanks a lot.
All right, there he is, Pat Kirkland, head coach, University of Charleston. And reminder, if you're not going to the game, you can listen on radio in the Charleston area on ESPN FM 104.5 and 1490, or you can watch the game on the Metro News channel at our website, wvmetronews.com. Time to get another break in. When we come back, we'll be talking some high school football playoffs with Fred Persinger. Stay with us. We're back after this.
The field of corrections is fast-growing and full of opportunities for advancement. Right now, the West Virginia Division of Corrections has openings for male and female correctional officers throughout the state. If you have a high school diploma or GED and can pass a drug test, visit wvdoc.com to see job listings and apply. These are state jobs with great benefits and an accelerated hiring process to get you on your way quickly. Visit wvdoc.com today. An equal opportunity employer.
Coming this fall, the Jeep Grand Cherokee, and Renegade. This lineup is a captivating ensemble. Critics are calling the Jeep Renegade inspiring and efficient with up to 31 miles per gallon highway. Four-Wheeler Magazine is calling the Jeep Cherokee the 2015 4x4 of the year. And Grand Cherokee is recognized as the most luxurious SUV in its class. The Jeep Black Friday Blockbuster Sales Event, the must-see event of the year, going on now.
Well-qualified lessees of competitive vehicles get a low-mileage lease on the 2015 Grand Cherokee Laredo 4x4 for $279 a month for 36 months with $24.99 due at signing. Tax, title, and license extra. EPA estimate, front-wheel drive with 1.4-liter multi-air turbo engine and 6-speed manual transmission. Ward segmentation, Summit model. Call 1-888-925-JEEP for details. Requires dealer contribution and lease through Ally Financial. 20-cent charge for each mile over 30,000. Residency restrictions apply. Take delivery by 11:30. Jeep is a registered trademark of FCA US LLC.
The Northside Automotive statewide Sportsline returns in 2 minutes. On Metro News. For 30 years, the voice of West Virginia.
When something is missing from the picture, it doesn't make sense. Without the right people, your work site is just a site. Your office is just a space. Let's Train West Virginia has grant funding for on-the-job training in today's in-demand careers. Workers learn while they earn, and companies can be reimbursed up to $10,000 per eligible new hire. So qualified employees and satisfied employers complete the picture. Learn more at letstrainwv.com.
Almost there. Just 5 more minutes. Almost home.
Statistics show that 80% of auto fatalities occur close to home on rural roads.
Cops.
That's why law enforcement is stepping up rural patrols and cracking down on impaired driving. If you are over the limit, you are under arrest because drinking and driving don't mix. Remember, over the limit, under arrest. This message brought to you by the Governor's Highway Safety Program.
This fall, not all blockbusters are movies. the Jeep Black Friday Blockbuster Sales Event. It's the must-see event of the year. Well-qualified current lessees of competitive vehicles get a low-mileage lease on the 2015 Grand Cherokee Laredo for $279 a month.
Final segment, Northside Automotive, Statewide Sportsline, Brad Howe, Greg Hunter, along with you. Looking for excellent off-roading? Check out the Hatfield-McCoy Trail System, forming a sprawling tangle of more than 500 miles of well-maintained trails for ATV, UTV, and other recreational riding. The Mountain State's wild terrain creates a natural obstacle course for riders of all levels. Real excitement. You'll find it here. Wild, wonderful, West Virginia. Coach Hunter, you have some breaking news from the Score Update Center on women's soccer.
Score Update Center, West Virginia in the second round of the NCAA tournament here in Morgantown, hosting Northwestern Mountaineers. First half just dominating. 4-0 lead West Virginia has, and the half is not yet even over. Of course, the Mountaineers continue on, and as you would hope, and defeat the Wildcats. They will face Loyola Marymount, which defeated Minnesota earlier in this round of 32 matchup. That game earlier today in Morgantown at Dick DeLess Soccer Stadium. So West Virginia with a 4-0 lead. They win. Sweet 16 round then would be Loyola Marymount, West Virginia at Dick DeLess Soccer Stadium Sunday at 1 o'clock.
All right, we'll keep you updated in the next 13 minutes before we go off the air. And we've talked Mountaineer football tonight. We've talked Mountain East Conference football. Now it's time to talk a little high school for a preview of the quarterfinal action. Let's welcome in Fred Persinger. Fred, welcome.
Welcome. Hey, I'm just curious. You're from the Midwest out there, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. I know what an ATV is. What's a UTV? I'm serious. I don't know.
Utility vehicle. It's like the side-by-sides. ATV is more the one person. UTV are the 2 4-passenger. So that's how they distinguish between those.
Has nothing to do with TiVo or anything.
No.
Okay, I got you.
See, there's your answer. Look at Hunter brought it to you.
Well,
he always brings
it. Wisconsin
family
days.
Yeah.
No. It's actually there's one in the shed beside my house right now.
Hunter's taking it out later tonight, Fred.
Yeah, anyone needs a good UTV.
Talk to Greg Hunter.
That's it.
All right, quarterfinal round. We just keep clipping along here. Talk to us. What do you got for us?
12 games this weekend, 7 tonight. Then we'll have 5 tomorrow. So, I honestly, when we went to Parkersburg this past Sunday, you never know. When you get down to this round, I mean, you're lucky if you get half of them to be on Friday night.
Right.
So once they did that, and they had them all the coaches there in one meeting. So when they all went through them, and I had 7, I just said, on behalf of game night, I thank you.
Now, real quick, before you dive into those games, give us a little behind the scenes there. Is that a negotiation between the coaches? It's just here's the okay. They say here's what we're playing.
Here's the deal. The lowest ranked seed would be, like, for example, Cabell, Midland, and Brook. Okay, that's a number 9 against the number 1.
Yeah.
Cabell, Midland has home field advantage.
Yeah, so they get to pick the field.
They pick the field, and then Brook, being the visiting team, they pick the date and time.
Gotcha.
So that's the way that works all the time. But
Thank
in AAA, we have 3 of the 4 games, and Brook and Cabell Midland is tomorrow night. Ironically, our 3 number 1 seeds in the classes are all tomorrow. So we start, but still, I think it's great that we have 1, 2, 3, and 4 in each class still alive. So that's some good stuff. Some really good games tonight. Number 7, Huntington's going to be at Point Pleasant. Point Pleasant, the Big Blacks are the 2 seed. They're still 11-0 on the season. A lot of folks have talked about their strength of schedule, but hey, they're still 11-0. They are averaging, giving up in 11 games, 9 points a game. 9.
That'll win you some games.
And they're averaging scoring 61.
No.
So some folks are saying, well, strength of schedule, and they'll find out tonight because Huntington is a very good football team. Number 11, South Charleston, I still say playing the best ball of anyone in AAA right now. They're the 11th seed. They're 8-3. They're on the road at Wheeling Island Stadium tonight. They're playing number 3 Wheeling Park. Park is 9-1-1. And then the game at Laidley Field, University of Charleston Stadium. Seems like this round every year we get this game. Number 5, Martinsburg, is at number 4, Capital. Last year, Capital went to Martinsburg. So, no, back up. 2 years ago, they went to Martinsburg. So they just play each other every year, seemingly, in this round. I think that's going to be a heck of a football game. Double-A, again tomorrow, Bridgeport and Robert C. Byrd. That is a rematch of a game played earlier this season. Big game tonight down at Mitchell Stadium, our Northside Automotive Class Double-A game of the week. Mingo Central, the Miners are 9-2. They go and play 9-1 Bluefield, and the Beavers have two of the fastest kids in the state. I think number 1 and number 2 in the 100-meter dash. They're in the backfield.
That helps.
At Bluefield. Doesn't hurt, does it?
Yeah.
Not at all. Mookie Collier is one of the fastest kids, and he was our guest on High School Sportsline Wednesday night. Everything he said was, yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I told him at the end, I said, you know what? I said, we interview a lot of young men on this show. And I said, you may be the most polite young man I have ever talked to. And he said, sir, my mother told me that you had to respect everyone, sir. And I said, well, you did good, Mookie.
Very nice.
But let's see. And then Herbert Hoover. Boy, I tell you what, Tim Meyer has done a tremendous job with the Huskies. They're 8-3. They go to Fort Gay to play a very good Tulsa team. The Rebels are 10-1. And then also tonight, number 5 against number 4, another good football game. Kaiser, the Golden Tornado, against Fairmont Senior. Sean Beiser, the head coach at Kaiser, he started a beard when I look around this room. He started a beard when football season started. He looks like Grizzly Adams, man. I ain't kidding you. I mean, you guys don't want to go around him.
We need a little of that.
He has no hair on his head at all. None. But he has a
great beard.
Big beard, and it's brown, and he's just bushy. Said, you want to coach at Kaiser, you got to grow a beard.
I think mine's coming in nice. It's just white, but it's coming in nicely.
Yeah.
It's got great shape.
Ho, ho, ho.
Neither of us can say anything about a brown or dark-colored beard.
I thought Hoppy today had the best line about a beard. He said his somebody was commenting on his because he was watching on our Metro News channel, and somebody said, yours don't look too good there, Hop. And he said, man, it's not fair because he said, Caridi can grow a beard by 5 o'clock.
Fact.
That's fact, isn't it? Yeah, it is. Single A. Some really good games. Coming up tomorrow night, number 1 Magnolia will host number 8 Williamstown, two teams that are just fixtures in Class Single A playoff games. And then number 7 Wheeling Park on the road. They go to Baker, West Virginia to take on number 2 East Hardy. That should be a really, really good football game tomorrow afternoon. And also tomorrow afternoon, we've got Tug Valley. They upset Man last week. They go to Moorfield to play the Yellow Jackets. And then tonight, I think the best game in Single A really is going to have number 11 St. Mary's, who went on the road last week, upset the number 3 seed or the number 5 seed Buffalo. They beat Buffalo, and Buffalo was undefeated last week, but St. Mary's got them 23-21 in a very good football game. They get South Harrison, and the Hawks of Brad Jett are 10-1. So some really, really good games, but you would expect some really, really good games quarterfinal round.
No question. You know, one of the numbers that jumped out here when I looked at this, Fred, you wanted no part of being the 6th seed last week, right?
Number
6
6
seeds lost to 11 seeds all the way across the board.
They did indeed. You had all 3 11 seeds advancing, but they were all 3 very, very good football teams. I think the one that surprised everyone was number 11 Herbert Hoover beating the number 6 seed James Monroe. Not because of that they beat them. They beat them 55-40. And Tim Meyer's ball club not scored 55 points in 100 years. So I mean, it was just one of those shootouts that the Huskies won.
Have you seen anything that tells us that the number 1 seeds that all seemingly are rock solid number 1s are ripe for upset?
No, I really don't. I honestly think all 3 number 1 seeds are rock solid. I think all 3 number 1 seeds will be in Wheeling. Now, who will they face? I don't know, because I think you've got a lot of teams listed below there, except for the number 8 seeds this week. Of course, they're going to go down. And then you get... Next week, you'll get Martinsburg, the winner of Martinsburg Capital playing the winner of Cabell, Middle, and Brook. That'll be a heck of a football game. So next week is really fun when you get down to just 6 games. But you got a lot of good teams. You got Bridgeport trying to win 3 in a row. You got Cabell, Midland trying to win their first. You've got Magnolia coming back from a season last year where they didn't even make the playoffs. And now they're there and could go undefeated. But a lot of good games left to be played, no question. 2 weeks.
All right. I'm sorry, Greg. Do you have a question?
No, just quick score update. Going to half at Dick DeLess Soccer Stadium. West Virginia still with a 4-0 lead.
Goodness, they're rolling.
They are indeed.
Fred, the lot of ways to keep up with the action here, high school sports. We got, of course, the website, wvmetronews.com. You guys will be on this evening, 9:30 to midnight, game night, and tomorrow during our coverage, we'll be updating these scores as well.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll
We'll have all the scores. And then again, after we leave the air tomorrow evening at 6, but There's a couple of games tomorrow night, and I will have scores on those. We'll update those games tomorrow night as well on the website at WVMetroNews.com.
And then you're going to be in Parkersburg again on Sunday for the matchups.
I need to call and check with my wife, but no, I'll be there.
I'll be there. Good stuff. Thank you for the time tonight. We'll see you back here tomorrow when you join us for the game day coverage. Looking forward. Real quick thought: Kansas, West Virginia.
Kansas doesn't have a prayer.
So
if they
they
do, we have more problems than we know.
With you. Totally with you.
You think
All right,
so?
there.
What do you think, Greg?
Now, Greg's nervous over. He's
I'm
like
nervous.
a coach. We call him Coach Hunter. He's like a coach. He's all nervous.
I certainly am.
He would be nervous if the Mountaineer football team was playing the Northwestern girls soccer team right now.
Northwestern.
Pretty good. I know, man. Yeah.
Well, they're struggling. But
That one's over. I'm calling that now, too. That's over.
Oh, see, here you go.
I saw the fans from
It is a
Northwestern
must-win.
arrive when I was checking into my hotel.
Uh-huh.
They had a busload of fans
Did
come
they?
in. Yeah,
Yeah.
they
Good
did.
for them.
So they were in town saying, hopefully we stay till Sunday. We'll have a good time.
We have all kinds of stuff happening. You mentioned all the high school games. We've got the Mountain East Conference game in Charleston tomorrow. The Mountaineers are playing basketball going on here in tips off in about 4 minutes.
Yep.
Over at the Coliseum. Stetson and West Virginia. Greg, any thoughts on that one here before we head off the air?
Stetson has been drilled. They're 0-2. West Virginia looking to go 3-0. So, again, things are going to get real interesting for the Mountaineers pretty quickly when they go to Vegas next Thursday and Friday. But this game and then Bethune-Cookman on Monday should not be two West Virginia struggles.
Yeah, so this is just what you've been looking for in these other games, just improvement, get some guys in, get Issa Ahmad lathered up, right? Some more work at point guard.
The question is, does Brandon Watkins play tonight or this season? There's been a lot of talk that his knee has been on the mend, and West Virginia may be considering using him where we thought all summer he was a definite redshirt candidate.
Yeah, so you think he's coming back at some point, just a matter of when?
Well, I think they're starting to evaluate it and starting to think about it. I think over the next 2-3 weeks they're going to decide, because if you get into January and he's still not there, then you shut him down. Why play him, and why wreck the red shirt at that point? But I think if he's healthy and he can start getting a few minutes, then he's at 100% by league action starts. I think they're going to take a real strong look at that.
Speaking of the action tomorrow on WVMetroNews.com and some of our radio stations, we get Greg all day in studio.
That's right.
We get Jeff Jenkins back. He was gone last week.
So our bench is strengthened.
Got depth.
We've got our full lineup back.
We may have to redshirt Rashid tomorrow.
Yeah, we might have to do that. See, I like
now you
it.
don't sit your starter.
No,
I like it when Hunter's here
I
live.
do too. I really do.
Right?
Yeah, you just keep your fingers crossed about all of the taped interviews, which they did a great job last
They
time.
did. We'll get all those.
We
Alan
get
Taylor
those.
and company.
Yeah, I like. You know why I like it? Because he can't stand it.
No.
When he's in here,
Makes you nervous,
drives
doesn't it?
him crazy.
No, I can't
I
just
know,
sit there and watch
all
it.
those years on the road for you.
It's a problem, but that's okay.
But we like
I'll
it
suffer
here.
in silence. I like the silence, though. The part where I have to converse with people, that I still struggle with that during game times.
So you're saying
He's going to be here, but he's not going to be here.
if we can find you tomorrow when you're around, don't come talk to you?
Not
Is
during
that what
game
you're saying?
time.
Just stay away?
Yeah, if you don't need me during the game, just let me analyze in my own little section.
All right, that'll do it for tonight. If you missed any part of the show, remember you can catch the podcast on iTunes or visit our website, WVMetroNews.com, and download tonight's show. Thanks to Todd Furman and UC head football coach Pat Kirkland and Fred Persinger for stopping by. Also, special shout out to the Mountain East Associate Commissioner Adam Zundel, was tremendously helpful on tonight's show. Deborah Martinelli on the video, Joe Nelson on the phones, and a reminder, high school game night with Fred, Dave, and Garrett comes up 9:30 this evening. We're back with you bright and early, 9 a.m. tomorrow for the start of our 9 hours of game day coverage. For Greg, I'm Brad Howell. Thanks for listening. We're out. We'll talk to you tomorrow.